The Zambian education system has undergone reforms at primary and secondary level over the years. These reforms are meant to meet the academic needs of the learners. For instance, in 2014, government introduced local languages in primary schools for the first 4 grades, and much later we saw the introduction of computer studies. Well, today on News in Depth, we join Macpherson Mkuka as he looks at the new examination mode of progression that has recently been included. Well, welcoming you to this week's interesting program, I am your presenter, Pennifer Nyirenda.
In the last 53 years of Zambia's independence, several governments have endeavored to formulate primary and secondary education systems to suit the needs of the learners. From the days of the MMD-led government through to the current Patriotic Front government, remodeling of the education systems has been one of the priority areas. In 2001 and before, the education sector operated under 2 education systems apart from the tertiary education. These were grade 1 to 7 primary and grade 8 to 12 secondary school systems. But in 2002, the MMD government introduced the grades 8 and 9 at primary level and remained with grades 10 to 12 at secondary level. The 2 systems were then reformed, a development that resulted in the renaming of primary to basic and secondary to high schools respectively. However, in October 2011, the PF government abolished the basic and high school systems and reintroduced grade 1 to 7 primary and grade 8 to 12 secondary school systems. In January 2014, the then Ministry of Education, Science, Vocational Training and Early Education embarked on a complete revision of the education curriculum. The changes started from early child to secondary education. This was in an effort to increase and enhance learner performance. Other reforms that were made to the sector includes the splitting of the Ministry of Education, Science, Vocational Training and Early Childhood Education into 2 distinctive ministries. This gave birth to the Ministry of General Education, which oversees primary and secondary schools, and the Ministry of Higher Education, overseeing tertiary institutions. 3 years after the revised curriculum was rolled out, the Ministry of General Education, through the Examination Council of Zambia, ECZ, has made further changes to the system. This time around, the ministry has developed and introduced what it is referring to as a new mode of progression to be used at grade 9, effective December 2017.
Government has to provide for every citizen. Our mandate is to provide education to all. What is our aim is to develop human capital at all levels. But when we look at human beings, we all don't have the same strength. There is no ability in human beings. So when it comes to education, be it a grade 7, be it a grade 9, be it a grade 12, they all have something to contribute to the nation. Now what do we do as government in the Ministry of Education, as a sector? We provided a mode such that once one fails, first attempt is internal. You fail grade 9. I'm giving you an example. I fail 3. I don't make it a certificate. Way back, people used to step back to say, I'm just a grade 9 failure. There's no failure in education. It was at that time maybe one could have challenges. So government provided a mode through which someone can resit using the external mode. And we provide exams for that, so that after you have passed those subjects that you failed, you can make a certificate and still progress into grade 10.
Before then, the system allowed learners to proceed to grade 10 despite not having met the certificate requirements at grade 9 and were allowed to resit while in an advanced grade. The Basic Education Teachers Union of Zambia, BETUZ, has backed government's decision to introduce the new mode of progression. The union says it will be meaningless to have learners progressing to grade 10 without meeting the certificate requirements at junior secondary level.
The education system provides only how long you are going to remain either at primary, then how long you are going to remain at secondary, junior secondary and senior secondary. And eventually that's the practice, normally. In fact, world over, that's the practice. In the event that you don't do well, because you had an opportunity, then when you want to resit, you are going to write as an external candidate. Because apparently you would agree with me that it even becomes difficult for someone who might have gone, for instance, into grade 12 to rewrite a grade 12, because if you are not attending class, you are now like teaching yourself. It becomes difficult. There are not so many students who do very well when they are not in class, but with the aid of the teacher.
And while some parents are positive about the change, others are seeing it as retrogressive.
It is not a progressive idea because it keeps on backtracking the students or maybe the pupils progressing. Because what it is, according to me, the way I understand, it is somehow draining or psychological, a backdrop, I would say. It's not a good way.
But because there is no way you can just push a child forward and so the best way making a foundation better then
to me it's not a good policy the government has introduced, because it demoralizes the psychology of the pupil. It's not a good one. We don't support it actually as parents.
Arising from the concerns raised by parents, the Ministry of General Education Permanent Secretary Henry Tukombe clarified that the new system is not a policy.
Progression simply means moving forward. We are not talking of retro, but we are talking of progressiveness, going forward. And that's the more reason government had to develop that mode. So people could have misunderstood it because, we are human beings, and populating things through the social media so fast, it moves fast. At a second, you destroy the facts. But the facts on the ground, there's no policy. It's an alternative mode to make sure that everyone have access to progress. By the way, you know that in Zambia, our constitution talks about someone with a grade 12. So we have all these competing needs as regards to the acquisition of the right skill, the right qualifications.
And renowned education entrepreneur who is also author of the famous book, Exams Made Easy, Rosia Siatwambo, feels the concerns being raised by some parents may be attributed to lack of adequate sensitization on the part of the ministry.
There's been a lot of misunderstanding, probably maybe because at first there was some kind of a campaign or even sensitization towards the same. That's why it has been received with a lot of mixed feelings, where other people now, they didn't get it clearly. They think to say if one fails grade 7, definitely they can't go to grade 9, they can't go to grade 12. I think first of all what the ministry needed to do was to clear the air. I don't know what kind of campaigns, maybe in the schools everywhere, so that everyone, even parents, would be able to understand the new progression.
Mr. Siatwambo has, however, welcomed the initiative.
The new progression method is a good one. It's a good instrument. In that at least each one of them will be given a chance to do what? They'll be given a chance to resit, and they can still go back to school at any point in time.
Other than prohibiting a candidate from progressing to grade 10 without a grade 9 full certificate, the new mode of progression also has other inclusions. The Examination Council of Zambia has introduced one examination number to be used at grade 7, 9 and 12, provided the candidate does not fail to progress to grade 10 at first attempt. The examination number will be given to every candidate in grade 6 upon registering for grade 7 examinations.
What happens is that when you are registered at grade 7 level and we give you an examination number, that's the same number you will use as a junior secondary school leaving certificate examination candidate at grade 9. If you do not pass the first time you sit, you do not make a certificate the first time you sit, we will give you an external number that you will use. Now, the reason why we do that is that when you have made the certificate, that's when you qualify to go to grade 10. And there are rules that you need to have 3 years of instruction from grade 10 to grade 12 for you to qualify to be a school certificate candidate. So if you proceed without a certificate, for us, that number does not qualify to move you now to grade 10 because you don't have a certificate.
And Betu's General Secretary, Jeffrey Simuntala, believes the changes will bring about competition among the grade 9 pupils.
That obviously brings about competition of how many are going to grade 10 because of the availability of what school places in grade 10. Similarly, even at grade 9, like I would indicate that, there is always a mismatch between the number of primary schools and the number of secondary schools which we have in this country. The number of primary schools are so many against the number of the few secondary schools that we have. Hence, you've seen that in certain situations, government, I think, has brought about a deliberate policy of trying to maybe create what I would call, where they are saying it's a combined school. You have the primary sector, then because they want to create adequate space at grade 8 and 9 and grade 10 and 11 up to 12, they would also have another secondary school running as a separate entity from the primary school, which we normally call as combined schools. So that is also welcome because it's trying to create and beef up the numbers in terms of, the numbers at secondary school for grade 8, grade 9, and grade 10 and 11 up to 12.
Rosia Siatwambo is, however, calling on the members of society not to judge an individual's intellectual ability based on school examinations.
The success of any person is attached to the passing of an exam. If you can't pass an exam, then you are deemed nothing. You are down and so forth and so on. They are just people that are not gifted to pass these exams. I can say so, right? Not every individual is born to do what. There are people that would struggle. So, where one is struggling for many years and so forth and so on. So definitely those will feel discouraged, and you may see them now falling off the system.
With the introduction of one examination number, the Examination Council of Zambia has further decided that examinations for grade 9 external candidates will be written separately from internal candidates. ECZ Director Michael Chilala explains the reasons for the separation.
In 2016, we realized that we had 78,000 grade 9 candidates who were writing as external candidates. Now, 78,000, if you divided that by 40, how many classes do you have? Plenty. And also, that now continued to congest the grade 9 examination rooms. And you have seen the continued complaints that the pupils stop learning when examinations start. Partially, although there may be other reasons, partially that is the reason. And so, having learned from the lessons of separating the GCE examination, we applied now for authority to apply that same principle of separating the grade 9 externals from the internals at grade 9 level. So what has changed is that the grade 9 externals are writing separate from the internals.
Dr. Chilala also says that learners will only be allowed to sit for subjects they did not perform well. He says after a learner satisfies the set prerequisites in particular subjects where they initially underperformed, the new and old results will be compiled on one certificate.
We introduced also a system now for recognizing the subjects they had passed earlier, while it's giving them an opportunity to pass the other subjects they had not passed to make a certificate at grade 9 level through combination. The same way we combine GCE certificates. But the good thing with the combination is that if you passed 4 subjects the first sitting, you don't need to write another 4 or 6 subjects the second time you write. You just need to write enough to make the certificate, to make the 6 subjects required for the grade 9 certificate. And once you have made the certificate, you qualify to progress to grade 10. And then you can proceed and write the grade 12 internal examination arising from the combination.
But academic examination commentator, who is also the proprietor of Great North Road Academy, Rosia Siatwambo, has dismissed ECZ's reason for the split. Mr. Siatwambo says there are a number of public halls ECZ can use as exam centers if congestion is the major challenge during exams.
I wish to differ, or maybe may I differ with the Ministry of Education on the decongestion part, to say they want to decongest. Because looking at the current population, where you have the rising, the increasing whatever population, it will simply means other people be left out. Then those that are left out, what is going to happen? So in my view, what was supposed to happen, the Ministry of Education maybe can look at maybe opening more centers. You can give an example of maybe turning some of these halls, like UNZA has got a big hall there, just for examination purpose, so that everyone is included. I mean, education is a right, so no one should be left behind in terms of this education, just because there's no space for somebody to write exams.
The cost of the grade 9 external exams is expected not to be very different from the GCE exam, which has been known to be a little costly among many. Candidates sitting for grade 9 external exams will be required to pay 75 kwacha per subject entered. And some parents have accused ECZ of wanting to make profits out of the payments, while others feel the fees have to be revised.
They must but just 5 kwacha, and looking at 75 kwacha. No, they must give an equal opportunity. 5 kwacha, even if you want to delight 5 kwacha, just to assist the children, so that literacy levels can go down.
As to me as a parent, it also is not a good thing, because you have to, like, if a pupil starts to resit for, per se, 6 subjects, you have to multiply that by 70, which is, if you, for instance, you say you have 3-4 pupils who are reciting for grade 9. Of course, it's a huge sum of a bill, which is not manageable. If you look at the economy, it's not doing well. It's not really a good thing.
However, Dr. Chilala has defended the institution's position. He says government has already subsidized the cost of examinations by paying for the pupils attempting exams for the first time. Dr. Chilala says pupils should put in their best during the first attempt to avoid paying the 75 kwacha per subject, which they will need to pay once they fail the exam.
It's not necessarily that the money we are charging is meant for luxurious use or profit or anything. We are not a profit organization. The cost that we charge, 75 kwacha per subject for externals at grade 9, yes. The setting of examination, the printing of examination materials, the cost of distribution, the cost of security, there's the cost of marking, the cost of processing the results. We'll produce a statement of results at the end. And at the end of the day, that is when we will say, now come and pay for combination so that we produce a certificate for you. If we were to go into a commercial arrangement of you pay the appropriate fee for the examination, the cost reflective fee, most people would not have managed. Government still pays quite a lot towards the running of the external examination. The 75 kwacha is, we have said, let them contribute a little more because they had already an opportunity to sit every examination at grade 9 level. I know there is a 5 kwacha which is paid at grade 9 level, but the 5 kwacha is paid by the school and not by the candidate. So the candidate writes the examination the first time they sit grade 9 free.
Annually, ECZ spends between 35 to 40 million kwacha on grade 9 internal exams and between 7 to 10 million kwacha on external pupils examinations. This perhaps is the reason why the Ministry of General Education has backed the Examination Council of Zambia for the 75 kwacha it wants to start charging candidates for every subject entered when rewriting.
Every change has a cost implication. The cost of changing cost. Not that they want to make money. There's no much amount in terms of profit making per se, because there's nothing that is free. They have running costs, administrative costs. They have a strategic plan to meet at the end of the day. A strategic plan has to be costed. Where do they get money from? Of course, it's an institution mandated to provide, to administer examinations and the like. It isn't a cost per se for them to make money or profit out of the model that are provided, not at all. Not at all. They have to run the other administrative costs, electricity, there's fuel, you have to prepare markers, you have to prepare paper. Those are things that they have to look at. Yes, a cost, not that they are there to make a profit, not at all.
Mr. Tukombe further says people should not look at the cost but the benefits that have come with the new mode of progression. He says the new method needs to be embraced as it will help uplift the education standards in the country.
We can see a lot of demand in terms of education. From individuals, be it politicians, everyone is studying. So you see, we have appreciated the value of education. And we are not doing bad as Zambia. The platform that we have provided, I can rest assure you, one day Zambia will have a pool of skilled manpower to meet the economic challenges, be it social, be it political. We'll still manage.
Meanwhile, Betuz feels the new mode of progression will not have a huge impact as learners who do not qualify to grade 10 are very few.
When you talk about those who might be sort of banned in inverted commas, you are talking about those who might have not done well, completely done well. But we have so many people who have gotten certificates. You are just talking about quite a small number. Yes, which may not have that significant impact per se.
The parents also share their views on the matter.
It is with the teachers. They have a tendency of being reluctant. Let me just say it like this. In the villages, you'd find that even the headmasters and the other people are not like monitoring the teachers. Let's say, and also on the other hand, the pupil to teacher rate ratio, I would say. You'd find that one class having 65 pupils, it is not normal. It's supposed to be at least 35 coming down.
Don't just say pushing a family just because grade 8 or college college. So the best way is just repeat that child so that she improved or he improved on what he is doing.
As you keep on repeating the same, you get fed up. You say, no, he is my classmate, now he's in grade 12. Now age counts. If you are 13 years, you keep on repeating grade 9, your friends, they will be 17, you will be in grade 9. So you feel, no, I'll give up.
However, Dr. Chilala feels it is the duty of parents to encourage their children to study hard and ensure they pass their examinations at first attempt.
We are not stopping anybody from learning. And the provision of the external examination is to provide an opportunity for those who wish to take it up even after they had lost opportunity earlier on. But as parents, as guardians, let us try by all means to guide our children to read, to learn, to revise and prepare for their examinations adequately so that the first time they sit, at least they make certificates. That is going to reduce the cost of running education by the ministry and is going to also assure the children of a brighter future, because the older they become, the more they get interfered with other biological and psychosocial issues, which end up affecting their performance even at grade 12 level.
Rosia Siatwambo knows the behavior of most parents. He says it is unfortunate that most parents are quick to blame the school and teachers for their children's failure.
I have discovered that, say, parents normally share the blame when a child hasn't performed well, but not every parent. In fact, most parents, whenever a child hasn't performed well, they normally charge against the school to say, no, this school is not bad, forgetting actually what has been happening at home. Because, in the child's life, I want to say the greatest teacher is not the teacher that is found in school. It is the parent, because they're the ones that saw the child right from birth. The first classroom was the mother's lab. So from there, then, what the child is taught will determine whether a child will be successful when they get into the school system. So it's only when the society will come to understand, to say parents share a bigger chunk of the blame when a child fails, that they'll be able to take up the responsibility. Otherwise, without that, we'll continue blaming the schools. Schools are doing their best.
Meanwhile, Betuz, on the other hand, has appealed to government to look into the issues of teacher-pupil ratio, which has an impact on the pupils' performance.
We need to continue employing teachers If we continue employing teachers and the numbers become a little bit bigger, you would find that this whole issue of about not having, addressing to pupils who would have not had given an opportunity to go into grade 10, reducing.
Despite numerous explanations from relevant authorities on the importance of the new mode of progression, some parents have reservations and are insisting that the decision should be reversed.
Yeah, they would have just left it the way it was, and making some changes. Yeah, to me that's the suggestion which I can bring forward, to say they would have left it the way it was.
Let them revisit the decision. It's a negative. Let them revisit and put up the measures that would help better, more especially on the girl child.
Government is optimistic that the new mode of progression is the right way to go.
People should not misunderstand it. It's a good mode. Every time you introduce a new thing on market, there will be a mixed combination of feelings. One will look at it from the positive side, others will look at it from the negative side. Now it's a question of reconciling the minds of people to say government will never provide a mode that will either hinder people to progress. Our aim is to make sure that we have a successful story at the end of the day.
Education is very important for every individual. There is need for the government and the Examination Council of Zambia to sensitize the public on the merits of the new mode of progression in the education system. This will help create a better understanding of what is expected on the part of both learners and the parents on the new education system.
Today on News in Depth, we've been looking at the new examination mode of progression introduced at grade 9. This is where we wrap up our program for today, and we do hope that you found this particular program interesting. Next week on the program, we are looking at fisheries, and we'll be joining Masaso Mkwayaya on a journey understanding how the Zambian fisheries sector is performing. Make a date with us for that interesting program. This is Penny Fanyurenda saying goodbye, and make a date with us next week at the very same time. Goodbye and God bless you.